I'm Brian, and this is Game Story Basics. Where do bad ideas come from? Part 3, Cognitive Biases. One of the origins of bad ideas are a variety of cognitive biases. I'm not a medical doctor, so some of these are official ones, some are things I've just made up, but they are based on my observation of the way that teams work. So the first thing is that people tend to value the thing they're good at and devalue the thing they're not good at. So if someone is particularly intellectual in their approach to creativity, they think about how the structure and all the pieces fit together, then they will think that that's important. And then if you talk to them about emotional resonance or emotional logic, they will devalue that. You'll say, well, the problem with this idea is that it doesn't really fit the sort of emotional arc that these characters are on. And they'll say, well, no one cares about that, right? Like, the important thing is that this idea is smart, it's funny, and it's unexpected, and no one will see it coming, and it's a reversal of everything that we expected, right? Those are all sort of intellectual approaches to ideas, and there's nothing wrong with that. Those are all valuable things. But they won't understand that the idea falls down in another dimension because they just don't think that dimension's that important. Conversely, you can go the exact opposite way. Someone who really understands and thinks about emotional momentum and all of the depth and power of emotional ideas, if they see an idea that has been built up around an emotional core, they'll think that's incredibly valuable. And then you go, well, it does fall apart logically because why would this faction ever do that? And they go, well, that's not important. The important thing is that, this all makes sense emotionally. And I'm sort of more sympathetic to that view because I do believe that if you get the emotional stuff right, a lot of other stuff becomes less important. But there is a limit. There's a limit past which you are breaking immersion, where even someone who's along for the ride emotionally will go, oh, come on, I don't believe that, right? And when you hit that limit, you've got a bad idea. So that mindset will devalue the importance of logic, right, in an idea. And so what happens is people get very excited about an idea that's really good in one dimension and falls down in a damaging way in another dimension. And so I've said before, most ideas are not inherently good or bad. And that's true. I would say if you ever do run into an inherently good idea, it's one that works on all dimensions, right? It's emotionally profound, but it's also completely logical, it's unexpected, all these other things. But I also said you can develop an idea into being good or bad. And that's one of the things about developing an idea is you can move it into being a good idea by making sure that it works in all dimensions. If you work with someone who they have 3 or 4 tight friends, they're buddies, probably other people on the team who think the same way they do, and they go to lunch every week, several times a week, and they talk about how they think about certain things, and they also lurk on or inhabit different, a specific subreddit or different online forums that are filled with people that think the same way they do. They begin to develop a sense that they are unaware of, which is that everyone thinks the way they do. So when they have an idea and they're excited about it and you're the stick in the mud sitting there going, there's a problem with this idea, they will, if they're more confrontational, they'll say it out loud. If they're not, they'll think it though. They'll be like, man, everybody thinks the way, everyone agrees with me on this. The whole world, comprised of my 3 friends and the 50 people that I interact with online, all think this way, and you just have some weird problem with it. I have literally been told that in the past. Another one, which is similar to echo chamber, but still very different, is groupthink. The difference is that echo chamber is an ongoing reinforcing biases. Groupthink is a thing that happens like wildfire spreading through a group. So you're talking about something, someone who's very confident goes, this is the best idea, or I'm excited about this. And they're charismatic and their excitement is infectious and the people around them start to get infected. And there might be a lot of people in the room or on the call who are actually a little skeptical, but without consciously thinking it, they start to feed off the charisma and the excitement of the person who initially had the idea, but also the fact that everyone else is starting to get excited about it, even if everyone else is actually feeding off the same thing, right? So that happens, and when that happens, the groupthink can lead to everyone being excited about an idea that may have some real merit to it. It probably does have some real merit to it. Even the worst ideas that we're talking about in this series have some merit to them, but it may have some fatal flaw. Dunning-Kruger. You're probably familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect, or at the minimum, you've probably heard the first half of it, which is this idea that the less knowledge, skill, or experience a person has in a particular area, the more confident they are in their opinions about that thing. So it's that guy, we all know him. He goes like, I tell you, it's all real simple. They just made me king for a day. I could solve all the problems in 5 minutes because I'm, it all makes sense to me. And you go, I bet that's not true. It's clear that the person doesn't really understand all of the complexity and the nuance, and so they're extremely confident in their opinions. The second half of the Dunning-Kruger, the one I don't hear people talk about as much, but which is as relevant, is that when someone has a great deal of expertise and knowledge and skill in an area, they tend to be less confident in their opinions. Basically, they know how much they don't know, and so they don't have that easy confidence of going, let me just tell you how it works, when you'll see if they ask a scientist about something and they go, is this the way this thing works? And the answer really is yes. The scientist will say, yes, as far as we understand the science to tell us, although there are these 16 edge cases that will contradict the overall, and there was this one study that was kind of an outlier. And so that dynamic where the people who don't know anything are very confident and the people who know a lot are not confident has led to, a lot of civilizational problems for us. But in the area of story ideas specifically, it is also something you just need to be aware of, that confidence will carry a room, confidence will get everyone on board, and confidence actually doesn't mean that much. There is another kind of confidence, obviously, that comes from real experience that people have. So that can sometimes counterbalance it, but you do have to be aware of the effect of confidence, and be aware that thanks to the Dunning-Kruger effect, we know that confidence in an idea doesn't make it a good idea. That's all for now. I'll see you on the next one.